Hey there nation, welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander CheapSkate, and we are back with another edition of Spoils of War. This is a series of videos that are dedicated to beer, cigar, and whiskey reviews. As you can see today, we are doing another cigar review, this time on the Weston Tobacco Company's Black Ribbon or Black Tie Sumatra cigar. This one's in a Robusto size, so it's in a 5.5 inch by 50/64 of an inch in diameter. And we're going to look at this final offering that's made by the Weston Tobacco Company out of Weston, Missouri. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, this video is dedicated to our friend and our brother in arms, Big Puka, who's fighting across the water right now, defending our earthly freedoms. So, Big Puka, if you're watching this was dedicated to you. So, as always, we're going to take a look at this review of this cigar. We're going to go through some of the aromas we get from it, the texturing of it, a little bit about the history of the company, as well as the tobacco used. And then, of course, we'll do the initial review for the initial lighting. Get what kind of flavors you get from that. We'll go to the first third, second third, and then we'll hit our way to the final third. So let's get this cigar review on a roll. Alright, so like I said before, this is a Robusto cigar, so it's about 5.5 inches in length, 50/64 of an inch in diameter. This is a Sumatra wrapped cigar. So as you see, we talked about Weston Tobacco Company's Maduro as well as the Connecticut. So now we're finishing out for the very last offering in a Sumatra. So you see it has this beautiful kind of darkish brownish color. It's a little bit darker than the Connecticut, and it's not as dark as a Maduro. It's kind of like a little bit in the middle. Now, when we talk about a Sumatra wrapped cigar, Sumatra could basically mean one of two things. It could be that the tobacco either comes from the actual country, from Indonesia, in the Sumatra region of Indonesia, or we're actually talking about the type of tobacco that is grown. Usually when it talks about Sumatran cigars, what we're actually talking about is tobacco that is grown within a region within Nicaragua. It originally comes from Indonesia, but the soils there in Nicaragua give it a little bit more of a different flavor than it would back in Indonesia. Traditionally, it has more of a smoky, kind of oily, spicy aroma usually associated with it. Kind of like a spiced coffee. It's how usually most people kind of describe the flavor of a Sumatran wrapped cigar. So as you can see, it's got a beautiful Sumatran wrapper on it. It's very, very smooth. It's got some veins on it, but not too bad. As you can see, we got the binder in the fill there as well. Once again, this is actually made by a company called Weston Tobacco Company. It is headquartered in Weston, Missouri, which is a small town, about 15 minutes north of Kansas City, right along the Missouri side of the Kansas City border. And the company there is known for making its own handmade cigars. Actually, when you go to the cigar company, they actually have tables where they actually have rollers who actually roll out these cigars by hand, and they actually can roll you out an order if you want to. The Black Ribbon cigars come in several varieties of sizes. The most common types they sell are either the Robustos or the Churchills, but they'll be happy to make any kind of size or type that you want with their tobaccos that they have. Like I said before, they sell Maduros, Connecticut's, as well as Sumatrans, what they're really known for. They use a variety of tobaccos, mainly from Nicaragua, so because of that, this should have kind of like a spicy aroma as well as flavor. So now that we got done with a little bit with the company, let's go ahead and see what kind of aromas we get from this. Very much the spiciness aroma that you get from most Sumatrans. Sumatras, to me, in my opinion, have kind of like a nutmeg, almost allspice kind of flavoring to it. So that's the kind of aromas I'm getting, is an allspice as well as a nutmeg, and a very, very rich tobacco as well as coffee aroma as well. If I had to equate it, it's kind of like as if someone poured you like a black cup of coffee and they added some nutmeg as well as some allspice to it. That's what it kind of a little bit reminds me of. Let me go and drink one more. A little bit of a hint of cinnamon there too. You know what? It's kind of like that pumpkin spice is what it kind of reminds me of, to basically say it the best way, which is kind of appropriate because we're starting to get into the fall months with these reviews. So yeah, pumpkin spice would be an excellent way to equate this. Okay, so now we're done talking about the company and we're done talking about the aromas. We're going to get this lit up and then go the initial lighting and then continue on with our review. Alright, so we are back. As you can see, we actually have the foot of the cigar and the initial light. So right now it's heating up a little bit. So let's go ahead and give it a couple of puffs to see what kind of flavors we get from the initial light. So, Big Puka, this one's for you, buddy. Right off the bat, that spiciness that we were talking about earlier with Sumatran cigars, that kind of cinnamon, allspice, nutmeg kind of flavoring, very, very prevalent throughout the entire cigar right off the bat. It's got a very mild kind of coffee flavor to it as well, in my opinion. So it's like I said before, it's kind of like if someone like had poured you like a cup of coffee, added a little bit of nutmeg, some cinnamon, as well as some pumpkin spice in there, to kind of give it like a fall kind of flavor. That's what it really reminds me of, is a kind of like a semi-spicy kind of coffee flavor. Let's go and try a little bit more of this. Retrohale is very much like that as well. Just like I said before, kind of like a fall spiciness kind of flavor, which is actually kind of good, because I could definitely see this being used as like a cigar that you would smoke in the fall, because it just kind of has that kind of aroma to it, as well as a flavoring to it. So the initial lighting on it is very, very good. Smoke output is kind of low, but that's not surprising, because it is Robusto, so it's kind of like a tighter wrap on it. But yeah, so far the flavors is very good throughout. So we'll go let this heat this up to the first third, and we'll come back for the first third and talk about the review for that. Alright, so we're back. We're about halfway through the first third of the cigar. As you can see, it's burning quite nicely as it's going through. Burn time on the first third was about 20 minutes, so if I had to guess, this cigar would last about an hour in length. So far, the flavors throughout the entire cigar still remain similar. Very mild, kind of very fall kind of spiciness to it. So flavors of nutmeg, flavors of allspice, flavors of pumpkin spice, still pretty prevalent throughout as well. It's got a kind of a rich creaminess to the smoke as well. Kind of reminds a little bit of coffee. In fact, I'm just going to take a couple more puffs on this. Very much so. Still that very fall kind of spice aroma and flavoring throughout as well. Retrohale is actually pretty smooth in this one as well, so there's no real burn from that, and the spiciness is repellent to the aftertaste. So far so good. So we're going to go through the first third again. We'll come back again when we get to the halfway mark of the second third. Alright folks, we are back now with the second third review. We're officially done with the first third. We're about, let's say about halfway down to the second third now. Burn time has been about, I would say about 35 minutes in total so far. So far pretty good on that. So let's go ahead and give it a puff real quick and see what kind of reviews we get from the second third. As before, the pumpkin spice flavoring throughout it, same thing with the allspice as well as the nutmeg flavoring, still very strong. The difference now is, of course, is that the heat is actually getting a little bit more of a warmer, kind of a smoky aroma to it, and I think it's because we're burning into the second third now. So it's a little bit more of a zestiness to it now. So whereas before you had the spiciness of pumpkin spice, nutmeg, and as well as a little bit of cinnamon on it, now you're starting to get a little bit of pepperiness to it now as well. Let's go ahead and take a puff on the Retrohale real quick. Like I said before, that pepperiness is starting to become a little more prevalent now, which is to be expected because this is a Nicaraguan cigar, so that pepperiness is just bound to happen eventually. So far so good. Well, that's going to do it for the second third. We'll come back one last time for the final third, and we'll finish up the review. Alright folks, and now we're back with the final third. As you can see here, the cigar is kind of burnt out a good amount. We're now in the final third, so let's go ahead and finish up the review real quick. So, first off, the flavor. By this point, that pumpkin spice cinnamon flavor that we were talking about earlier has kind of subsided for the most part. It's starting to become a little bit more peppery, and the temperature is a little bit hotter this time. It's starting to burn a little bit more hot for the last third. So because that has subsided a little bit, the smokiness has definitely taken on a strong kind of smoky flavor. Whereas before it was kind of smooth and like kind of a coffee flavor, now it's starting to taste a little bit more like pepper and zest. We're going to try one more time on this. Give another puff real quick. Like I said before, very much the zestiness is very much returned in this one, and that's to be expected because it is a Nicaraguan cigar, like I said before. So that's going to do it for this one, you guys. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is valuable to us always. Also, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Google+, as well as blogger.com for all those greatest news about our hobby. That's going to do it for this one, you guys. You guys stay classy. Peace out.